before, we get too far into it, I just want to take a quick like pulse check. So if you could drop your answer in the chat, there's no wrong answers. This is just for me to kind of understand where everyone's starting from. But on a scale of 1 to 5, so 1 being we barely post anything. I know, Ed, you said no video or anything like that. But 5 being we have a consistent video system that's generating leads and results for our business. Where's your business right now? Yeah, a lot of opportunity and maybe some disconnects in there for people. So I mean, this is for you then. What we're going to be talking about today, the post more content lie. So I just want to go into a little bit of context for what we're talking about. I've been doing video production since 2012, and yes, I own the Video Lab, which I said is a professional content studio. John uses it. We offer that video strategy framework that we're going to be talking about. But more importantly, like this system, I've actually lived it. So I built a personal YouTube channel to over 32,000 subscribers. But from that channel, I have 24,000 email subscribers. So that is your customer list. That's what it's all about right there. That email list, that customer list. It's not about how many subscribers I have on the channel. It's about that email list. So this hasn't been through ads. It's not even by going viral. Like my channel is not built to go viral, but it is by posting one consistent video a week about my particular niche, which is about a specific camera. And this is for a very specific audience, which I think coming up you're going to find is going to be key. So that experience is what the video brand engine that I'm going to be talking about is actually built on. So I'm not teaching like a theory. It's actually a system I've run on my own channel. And, if it can work for this bearded dude from South Dakota, it can work for your business. Okay. So, and the great thing about, being here in South Dakota, I don't know how many of you are here in South Dakota or Sioux Falls, but one of the things that we've done with the Video Lab is we've combined now this system, right? This video brand engine with the infrastructure of an actual content studio. So you don't have to be on your own when you go and record these videos. Yeah, so I'll explain the content studio. So what we've done here at the Video Lab is we actually have 3 pre-built video sets that are basically turnkey. So you can come in here and batch record. We do it by 90-minute sessions. You can batch record your content, and you can either walk out with your files, or we obviously do the editing. That's the biggest piece, is the editing. We do that here. And so we have three sets, like I said, but we have professional cameras it's taken care of, professional lighting, professional audio, and then we have a studio tech that runs it all. So literally all you have to do is show up with your content ready to record. So that's kind of the premise of a content studio. So we're helping people do corporate podcasts, YouTube videos, courses, a lot of those types of things. And the people that we work with are CEOs like John and founders that realize the importance of personal branding, but also in-house marketing teams for companies. So kind of how the Video Lab came about was like I would go on these video productions, and I would go in these marketing teams. Like I would be walking through a bank. These marketing teams would show me all the lights that they bought, and it was just sitting in a pile in a corner of an office. Or they would open up a closet and be like, "Hey, here's all our lights. Do you want them?" And I was like, "No, I don't want your lights." But what I saw was kind of like a need. They wanted to get podcasts going. They wanted to get their CEOs on camera, that type of thing. And then we also work with coaches and consultants, and then also partner with other marketing agencies to provide video services for them. So that's a little bit of history about the Video Lab and what a content studio is. All right, well, here's the advice, right? You've probably heard it, probably from multiple sources. Post more. Just be consistent. It's going to solve all your problems. Show up every day. More content equals more visibility equals more growth. Here's actually what happens when most businesses follow that advice. They start strong, like John said. They post a few videos. Maybe they buy some equipment, like I encountered. They're excited. And then 2 weeks in, John already said this, maybe 4, it gets hard. Ideas run dry. Idea generation, right? That's what John was talking about earlier. The schedule slips. Life gets busy. And the whole thing stops. And, some people might think it's like a discipline problem, like they just don't have what it takes to be a content creator. And this is where it's like, you're not a content creator, you're running a business, but you do have to kind of think of as yourself as a media company and maybe have the thought process like a content creator would. So, honestly, here's the truth. It's not necessarily a discipline problem. It's what it comes down to for a lot of people is just a system problem. So the advice, post more content, it was never really complete. Like, it tells you what to do, but it doesn't tell you necessarily how to build something that keeps running even when your motivation runs out or when you get burned out or get tired. So I think that's the biggest piece to this, and what a lot of CEOs, a lot of personal brands, a lot of companies encounter is this thing right here. So I call it the content burnout cycle. And I'd be surprised if anyone here who hasn't been through this at least once. You start motivated, post a few things, life gets in the way, you get busy, big client project, a week where there just wasn't time, missed goals. The audience doesn't build because there was no consistency. So you look at the results and feel like the effort wasn't worth it. And then you stop. So 6 months later, somebody throws out that advice again, post more content. And then you're like, okay, well, let's start this whole cycle again. So it's not a motivation problem. Motivated people go through this cycle all the time. So it comes down to an infrastructure problem, like a system problem. So there's no system underneath that effort of just that advice, just post more content, just post more content. So the momentum, everything stops. John talks a lot about building momentum. So what we're going to talk about is how to gain that momentum with your content. Okay, I just want to ask one more question. Well, there might be a few more throughout this, but drop in the chat. And John, if you could bring those up again, what's the biggest thing that has stopped you from being consistent with video content? One word or phrase is fine. We've had some maybe editing, ideas, time, being uncomfortable on camera, maybe something like that. Maybe it is for you. Maybe it is no system. Here's what's costing you. No, the cost of inconsistent content isn't just wasted effort. It's like invisible compounding. So like in 2026, having the mindset of a media company that John talks about, if you're not showing up, it's actually compounding like invisibility. So that's not what we want. So every week your business isn't showing up on video is a week your ideal client is actually building trust with somebody else. So the businesses winning right now in your space aren't necessarily better than you. They're just more visible. And visibility, when it comes to content, consistent strategic visibility that we'll talk about is what builds that trust that generates those inbound leads kind of on like a 24/7 basis. So really it's the authority you didn't build and the leads that went somewhere else because they saw another company online and started building that trust. All right, so here's a shift that we're going to make today. Stop thinking about content, start thinking about systems. Not content, systems. So content thinking asks, what should I post? System thinking asks, what does my engine, you hear that word a lot in content, engine. What does my engine need to run this week? Content thinking is motivated by inspiration, which can sometimes be unreliable. System thinking is powered by infrastructure that I use a lot here in this thing. I'm using that word a lot. It runs regardless of how you feel on a what is today? Wednesday? Is today Wednesday? April 1st. It's April 1st, today on a Wednesday, no matter how you feel. So most successful content creators and the most visible business leaders in the world, they're not more creative than you. They're they're not more disciplined. They actually just have better systems. So systems that make showing up easier than not showing up, systems that turn one piece of effort into multiple pieces of output. And that's what we're going to get into today. Systems that compound over time, even when nobody's watching. Remember, we don't want to compound invisibility. We want to compound content that builds trust. So that shift from content thinking to system thinking is the most important thing that I want you to take away from today as we get going. So I think this is interesting. A lot of agencies right now are still, they're still pushing campaigns. Campaigns end, but engines, they keep running. John talks a lot about momentum, and that's like getting that momentum going. So a campaign, we'll kind of compare them here a little bit. A campaign is like a burst of activity, a launch, a push, kind of a sprint type thing. It has a beginning and an end. And I just realized how like weird my shot is. So my apologies for this like weird shot, like compressed shot I have. Yeah, I totally forgot that I was doing that. But anyway, so yeah, I know. Yeah, I was like, oh shoot, I'm trying to practice what I preach, but oh, here we are. So a campaign has a beginning and an end, and when it ends, like the results end. So paid ads stop the moment you stop paying. A viral post fades over time, like probably within like 48 hours or so. But a content sprint followed by 2 months of silence, it really leaves like no lasting impression. But we're going back to this word engine. So an engine is different. So the engine is a repeatable system that runs on a schedule, builds on itself, and compounds over time. That's what we want. A video you record today can generate leads 2 years from now. So a YouTube library of 50 videos is like a 24/7 sales team that really just never takes a day off. So that's not how campaigns work. That's how what we're talking about today works. So what does the engine actually look like? So we've been launching this called Video Brand Engine. It's a system that I built to solve the problem that we're talking about today. So the premise is really simple. And it starts with this: one strategic long form video per week. We're going to call this your anchor video. Okay. So this anchor video, which will live on YouTube. Okay. It will live on YouTube, becomes the source of everything else your business needs to stay visible, build trust, generate leads across the other platforms, whatever platforms your audience is on. Like John said it before, like you don't have to be on every single platform. You need to be on the platform your customers are on. So all your other content is going to come from this. So it's not 10 pieces of content that you have to create from scratch every single time. So it's not a social media manager like posting randomly every single day. You don't have to come up with this stuff like every single day. You batch record videos, you post once a week, and then all of your other content comes from that anchor video. So at the Video Lab, we can do all this stuff for you, but you can also do this on your own. And this is kind of where some of that AI, pieces come in. You could take that transcript of the video, build your LinkedIn post. So I'll give a diagram here in just a second, but so the engine that I'm talking about runs on a framework called the 4 C's that I've had since I started the Video Lab. The 4 C's are consistency, community, content, and creativity. So that's the framework that we're going to break down here in just a little bit. So each one is kind of a component of this whole system. So when all 4 of these things are working together, there's kind of a shift in your content. Like video stops being a task on your to-do list, and really it starts being that engine that is driving your brand forward, while you can focus on actually running your business and not like focus on, oh shoot, I have to record a video today. Like you can actually do the things that you want, because this is kind of starting to get the ball rolling a little bit more. So here's how the multiplication works. You record one long form anchor video. You don't worry about length. you know. We kind of get caught up in this like length debate on long form video. However, you can get your message out and solve your customer's problem. That's how long the video needs to be. Okay. So one long form anchor video built around one clear idea for one specific audience. We don't want to overcomplicate this thing. One clear idea per video to one specific audience. So that video is going to live on YouTube. It could be like a traditional, like educational style YouTube video. It could be a video podcast. It could be an interview, like an executive interview where somebody is like sitting off camera interviewing you, or it could be like a training session, like maybe you have a slide deck or something, or you're on a whiteboard. It could be a training session like that. So from that one anchor video, we pull multiple short form clips for YouTube, Shorts, Reels, TikTok, etc., wherever your audience is. We pull LinkedIn posts. We pull a blog article. We pull the newsletter content. We pull an infographic. John, you like those infographics. You love those things. We can make an infographic from that. You make your sales assets from that one anchor video. You post throughout the week kind of based on that one anchor video, that one core topic of that anchor video. The effort stays the same, but that output then, that's what we want compounding, right? We want this content compounding around your like main topic that you're talking about. So every piece of content throughout that week points back to that anchor video, points back to your channel, points back to your authority, your expertise, your business. And then it all points to one lead generator to collect emails that your ideal audience is going to get. So this is what separates the businesses right now winning with content from the ones that are kind of still stuck in that burnout cycle. It's not like they're working from a system that multiplies their effort instead of like just wasting it and consuming it. I've talked to several like agencies. They're like, we just need more content from our clients. We just need more content. Well, what does that actually mean? So, okay, let's go back to the chat. So on a scale of 1 to 5, how much of your current content do you repurpose across multiple platforms after you create it? John talked a little bit about that. How much of your current content do you repurpose? Anybody? 1 being the low, like hardly anything. 5 being like, I do it all the time. One more thing before we get actually into the framework. This is important for how you think about the return on investment, which is sometimes kind of an issue on some of this this concept is like, paid ads, they're going to stop the moment you stop paying. So the moment your budget runs out of your whole campaign ends, the leads stop. So you have nothing to show for it except the results like during that time frame that it ran. But organic video and Gary V, I don't know if you're familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk. He's high on organic video, and I fully 100% agree with him. Like, organic video is kind of the opposite of this. So a video you record today sits on YouTube indefinitely, as long as you want it to. It gets discovered through search. It gets shared. It builds trust with someone who watches it 18 months from now, and then reaches out because they feel like they already know you. That's what these long form videos are doing. They're building trust. They're getting you and people's feeds. They're watching these. It's not a campaign. It's not a campaign. It's actually like an asset. And like every video you record adds to that asset library. And we're going to get into some of the like important things here down the line, but let's take a look at the actual framework. So this is kind of a diagram that I put together. So the video brand engine runs on these 4 principles, right? And we're going to break them down, but I call them the 4 C's. Each one is a component of the system. If you kind of think of like a car engine, this is kind of where we're going with this. Consistency is actually the fuel system. So without it, nothing else in the engine runs. But remember, it's not like just posting more content. Yes, you need to be consistent, but it's kind of like, I just put a post out on LinkedIn not too long ago. It's like, you don't put gas in your car only once or twice a year, right? I mean, you're not going to get very far if you just put gas in your car once a year. It's kind of the same with video. It's like, you do need to have like a rhythm. And so here's what I want you to understand about consistency. It's not a, it's about infrastructure. When it comes down to it, it's about infrastructure. So the businesses that stay consistent with video, they're not necessarily more disciplined. They've just built the systems that make showing up easier than not showing up. So consistency kind of like, yes, it's kind of the cadence of your posting, right? Like, I recommend once a week, could be bi-weekly, whatever is realistic for you. But it also comes down to that messaging, right? Consistent messaging over and over and over, same message. Remember, you're speaking to one audience. Like, you really need to define that. We'll talk about that here in a sec, but you really need to define who that is and the problems they have. And you just hammer that over and over and over and over. It's going to feel really repetitive, but that's the point. Like, you need to build that trust. So pick a cadence. We make it easy here to batch record and then post once a week. But commit to it. Whatever it is, commit to it, protect it, kind of like it's a client meeting. And then that pattern is going to matter more than the perfection of the video. Okay. Especially in 2026, like, it doesn't have to be like this amazingly produced, graphics flying all over the place style video. So that brings me to the second C, which we talked a little bit about, community. So think of this as your like ideal audience. Okay. The community that you are contributing to. So the community is kind of like the steering system of the vehicle. Okay. So like, your audience kind of determines the direction your content goes. So if you're like posting some stuff, you're like, oh, I'm so smart, I'm posting this stuff, but they start asking questions about other things, you better start like veering towards those. Like, if you're consistently getting questions about something different, you better start making your content go that direction, because that's what they want. All right. They're literally asking you for it. So make those videos. All right. So like, an engine without direction really just wastes energy. Like, your audience is going to determine it. So like we hear this all the time, like, content for everyone resonates with no one, right? Like, we hear that, the businesses, right, winning right now with video have a very specific audience, a specific person with a specific problem, like I already said. So every piece of content that you make, it needs to speak directly to that person. And this is how, for my personal YouTube channel, like, this is how it was built, right? My audience wasn't everyone interested in all cameras, right? It was people specifically interested in Panasonic Lumix cameras. Very specific. Audience and the viewers felt like the channel was actually made for them. And I was just going through settings on this camera, right? Like, and then people would ask questions, then I'd make videos about those questions and all that stuff. So then it started like getting the ball rolling. And you know what? I just got a message today about this. I'm actually part of an insider group for Panasonic Lumix. Just because of YouTube, just because I started making videos on YouTube, I'm actually part of a small group of global creators that, when we have these meetings, we actually meet with the engineers of these cameras, and what we say in these meetings determines the features and settings that they put in these cameras for the rest of the consumers across the globe. So like, all I did was twiddle my thumbs through camera settings, and now I'm like part of an insider group. So if it can happen to a bearded dude like me, it can happen to you, I promise. Okay. So the practical takeaway for community, if you can't describe your ideal viewer in like one sentence, your community isn't defined yet. All right. So start there before you even record another video, or record your first video for some of us. All right, let's go to the chat one more time. So in one sentence, who is your video content made for? Just drop it in the chat. Who is your content made for? Or if you haven't made any yet, who would you like to make it for? Like, it might seem like, oh, there's not an audience for this. There is an audience for that. And here's the thing. Remember, it's not about going viral. It's not about getting 10,000 views. Like my channel is like 10,000 views. I'm not getting 100,000 views. I'm not getting 1,000,000 views on my videos. It's very specific. And it's the same for some of this as well. Like it's solving problems for your specific audience. And so once you start making those long form videos, especially on YouTube, around one specific topic, maybe two, that's how the algorithm works. It starts like finding viewers for your videos. And it takes a little bit of time, but that's that compounding effect. All right. Okay. Yep. I like that. So the next one is content itself. Okay. The actual content itself. And now I'm not a big car guy. All I know is the transmission basically transfers the power, right, to the wheels, and like it gets things going. And that's what the content is. So it converts effort into scale. And this is where like that anchor to ecosystem, this is where like that model lives. So your content strategy is built around your anchor video with 2 to 3 recurring topics based on your customers' pain points. You repeat those over and over and over and over again. It's that transfer of power. Think of it as like these are the themes that your content owns or your channel owns. All right, like specific themes. So every video belongs to one of those topic buckets. This keeps everything kind of like coherent, right? It makes planning a lot easier. It gives your audience a clear sense of what you actually stand for. So the single most important skill, if we want to get down to the nitty gritty, I'm just going to give you an example. Like when it comes to actually like structuring your content, there's certain things that we want to focus on. One of the most important is the first 30 seconds of your videos, which is we call the hook, right? Or that intro. Like you never start a video with like, hey guys, welcome back to another video, like and subscribe. Like nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants your logo to flash up on the screen. All right. Start with the most important thing you're going to say. I just wanted to toss that out as like a little example of how we kind of help people structure content. So that's all coaching and content strategy that we do here at the Video Lab. Last one is creativity. So this is kind of like the last C is creativity. So it's kind of like the ignition spark. It's kind of like the spark that like makes your content stand out from others. So, you know, two businesses can run kind of the same engine at the same cadence and produce like very different results. The one that wins has a very distinct point of view, you know, maybe a visual identity that's immediately recognizable, maybe a voice that makes their audience feel like they'd know it anywhere. I kind of call this like your unfair advantage. Like it could be something like maybe there was a health issue that you went through that makes your content more relatable. You know, people relate to that type of thing. So your creativity, it's not necessarily about like having the most creative video or like the production value, but it's about having the clearest, most distinctive perspective in your space is what it comes down to. That's what creativity is. And that's the unfair advantage that you have. So I'm just going to show you what this looks like real quick, you know, kind of the transformation. So before the engine, random content, when inspiration strikes, like, oh, I better make a video right now, you know, burnout every few months, effort that doesn't compound, invisibility actually compounds. A business that's invisible to people who might need it. You know, you might have the answer and they need to see it. So after you kind of incorporate something like this engine, this video brand engine, one anchor video produces a week of content across every platform, a consistent schedule that runs regardless of how busy things get, a growing library of videos that build authority and trust. And over time, those inbound leads from people who found you on YouTube 6 months ago, they feel like they already know you. So that's kind of like the shift, you know, from before to after. So kind of think of it like this: content chaos to a content engine, content framework. One last chat thing here. On a scale of 1 to 5, how much clarity do you have right now on what your video content system should look like? 1 being still figuring it out, 5 being I know exactly what I need to do. I know exactly what I need to do.